Hi, my name is Cho Win, and this is for Assignment 2, MGW1010. The manager I interviewed is Mr. Cho Fu Lam, highly experienced general manager at Chemical Industries Malaya with over 29 years of experience in the oil and gas industry. This is the evidence of his LinkedIn. Early in his career, Mr. Cho adopted a transactional leadership style as defined by a study from Mullins in 2016. It's KPI-driven performance and top-down task delegation from higher-ranking executives. At an individual level, this created clear expectations and strong accountability, which are well suited to the process-heavy demands of the oil and gas industry. At a ground level, however, it drove performance through competitive targets, which risk limiting collaboration and self-motivation. What is important here is that transactional leadership align naturally with rational decision making, where decisions are followed a structured, logical sequence based on data. In a heavily regulated industry like oil and gas, this was not a preference but a necessity.
Describe myself as more like a transactional, achieve the sales targets within a specific time frame, and of course within sales there are many KPIs, right? So I would see myself humbly, starting as focusing on the goals and achieve them on a day-to-day, week by week, and month by month basis. So very transactional, very target oriented.
As the company was stagnant, Mr. Cho changed to a transformational leadership style. The study by Mullins, four components of this style, we can see him clearly in an inspirational motivation component by setting an ambitious goal like tripling company profits and grouping his team around a shared vision. Critically, what based this in an interview rather than theory alone is how he did it. He restructured the team, identified individual talents, and analyzed press framework and 3C analysis of customers, competitors, and company. This allowed the team to identify where they could compete and how they could win. At the individual level, this approach enhanced commitment and encouraged innovative thinking. At a group level, it created a strategic ownership. However, it risked being unrealistic as it may create pressure rather than inspire.
Like a company, not much of growth, and it's a day in, day out. Transactional leadership will no longer be able to do this role. So it's about transformational. So I said overall the pastel, right? The political, the economic, the social, all the technology landscape. The three C's that I want to look at is the customers. Who are the segments of customers we want to target in order to be tripling my profit in 1 year time? Another C, the competitor, right? What are they doing and how can they become our roadblock, taking our shares of market away? And the company, us.
In contrast to his earlier transactional leadership, which emphasized control, structured task, and performance and monitoring, this transformational approach shifts towards vision empowerment and long-term strategic thinking. A change in organizational context caused Mr. Cho being transactional to transformational in his leadership. Rational decision-making aligned naturally with his earlier transactional style. His current approach incorporates intuitive decision-making, where his experience and pattern recognition guides his choices, shown in how he identified market opportunities through the mentioned frameworks earlier. However, intuitive decision-making carries risk in a heavily regulated environment like oil and gas, where decisions carry significant safety consequences. This suggests his most effective decision makes use of both rational frameworks to structure his problem, then applying intuition to determine strategic direction. This transition was deliberate response to what the organization needed. Leadership maturity in the context was situational based. Mr. Cho identified Steve Jobs as his role model. Steve combines transformational leadership through visionary communication and inspiring innovation with autocratic elements through centralized control and high standards. Steve's decision-making was very intuitive, rejecting market research in favor for vision-driven conviction rather than structured analysis. Steve's resilience reinforces Mr. Cho's pursuit of ambitious targets, strengthening an inspirational motivation component of his own transformational style. His intuitive approach also pushes Mr. Cho beyond KPI-based analysis towards strategic judgment. However, Steve's autocratic tendency contrasts with Mr. Cho's collaborative team-building approach. This suggests Mr. Cho has selectively internalized Steve's qualities, adopting the vision and resilience while reducing being authoritative. This shows a self-aware form of leadership development.
Really, I'm inspired by Steve is the way he built from nothing, from his garage, the built Apple to where it is today. He has failed multiple times in his life, being fired by his own company in the first place, and come back and become stronger, right? So that is a resilience kind of mindset that I embrace. And
Reflecting on this interview, I believe Mr. Cho can serve as my leadership role model. As someone naturally drawn to big picture thinking and intuition, I found strong resonance in his transformational approach, specifically his use of inspirational motivation, getting his team around the vision of tripling profits, which demonstrates how transformational leaders convert abstract ambition into collective action. What Mr. Cho demonstrated is that his most significant strategic decisions were grounded first in rational decision-making through the PEST and 3C analysis before intuition guides his final strategic direction. What I now understand is that rational frameworks sharpen the intuition, and intuition gives those frameworks strategic meaning. Thank you.